Back when I started the shinogi zukuri katana project, one of the viewers of this channel requested that I demonstrate and discuss how to shape and polish the kissaki, or point end. Well, shaping the kissaki actually starts with the forging, and much of the development of its shape happens during profiling. In this video, I'm going to discuss how I lay out, design, and profile a kissaki. The kissaki is probably the most interesting part of the shinogi zukuri style blade, and from the point of view of the bladesmith, it's without any doubt the most difficult part to make correctly. With regard to function, the kissaki must be sharp enough to slice, pointy enough to stab, and strong enough to withstand the force of impact on armored opponents. A well-made kissaki is also harmoniously proportioned and beautiful to look at. There's a ton I could say about the purpose and function of the kissaki, historical trends, regional variations, sizes and shapes, but this isn't that sort of video. Here I want to discuss basic concepts of kissaki design and demonstrate how I make a specific kissaki for a specific blade. The example shape I'm going to use for both my explanation and demonstration is a sort of average kissaki for shinogi zukuri katanas. It's called a chu kissaki, which literally means medium point. Okay, so here are the important parts of the kissaki and their features. This line is called the yokote, and it marks where the body of the blade ends and the kissaki begins. It's at this point that the gently curving cutting edge of the blade begins to make a more dramatic curve toward the tip, and there's almost a visible angle here. At the yokote, the shinogi line immediately begins to curve up toward the spine of the blade, and the shape of that curve exactly matches the shape of the curve of the cutting edge. So the curve wouldn't look like this, too short, or this, too long, but this, a perfect miniature reflection of the curve of the cutting edge. Now, because the shinogi line is a physical ridge that runs along the length of the blade, when it curves up and meets the spine, it creates a wide spot on the spine. In lots of modern, inexpensive, mass-produced katanas, the yokote line is purely ornamental. In other words, the only difference between this part of the blade and this part is how they're polished. But in a well-made katana, there's a slight difference in geometry between the cutting edge on this side of the yokote and the cutting edge on this side. On the blade side, the cross-sectional geometry is more rounded as it descends from the shinogi ridge to the cutting edge, while on the kissaki side, the geometry is flatter. When formed properly, this makes the yokote more than an ornament or decoration, but a physical demarcation that you can feel as you pass your finger over it. Additionally, this part of the kissaki is polished differently from the body of the blade. I'll demonstrate that in another video when I complete the polishing of my current project. Okay, so with that introduction, let's look at how the kissaki is formed. Of course, the first step is to hammer it out correctly when forging. Assuming you forged it correctly, the shaping continues with the profiling, and that's what I'll demonstrate here. This is what the blade looks like after forging, and then gently removing the scale with a belt grinder. Now, one thing I like to do as the kissaki begins to approach its final dimensions is carefully lay out all the lines and curves and mark them with a Sharpie. Then I carefully file each part to as close as the perfect dimensions as possible. Of course, at this stage I leave the cutting edge about 2 millimeters thick so it won't crack when quenched. Okay, this is how I plan, lay out, and profile a Kissaki. Stay tuned for more details about finishing the Kissaki in the video where I polish this blade.